So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezabel. Before I go on with this video, I would like to introduce you guys to another part of me. So I have an interesting, exciting new YouTube channel. I'm going to leave the link right in the comments and in the description box. But please, as always, show me your love and support and go subscribe to that channel. The name of the channel is Neze Peperepe. Where are my Peperepe lovers? So I was on Instagram some days back and I got a very disturbing story that a lady had posted on Facebook. All right, so let me just go ahead and read this. It was posted by one Chioma Scholar Maria Ugochukwu, and she said, "Another injustice for my widowed auntie. This one is blood. My dad's younger sister," that's the woman. "The husband's funeral was yesterday, and this night her properties was thrown out of her husband's house. Her clothes, her money, her phone, everything was stripped, everything. Tomorrow is the Thanksgiving and she doesn't have anything to wear. She will sleep like this. Her properties was locked in the second picture. This house was built with my aunt's money. Please help me. Help my aunt with contacts that can help. Share this post, please. I'm from Nanka Town, Ifeti village. Their surname is Ezemo." Wonderful. You see, this kind of story is not novel, it's not new to our ears. In fact, it's not even news again, because these things happen every day in the interiors of the village. We don't even get to hear them enough. But this is the norm in a lot of places in Nigeria. You know, sometimes when I address you guys, my audience, I keep telling you, in Nigeria, this is what is obtainable. In Nigeria, I'm not going to come out and give a blanket view or give an unrealistic view of things. I keep telling you, this is our reality. This is what happens. This is what I would like to happen, but this is actually what is happening. This practice and this unfair treatment to widows is a thing, and it happens all the time. You hear very scary stories of widows being forced to shave their hair, being forced to drink the bath water from her husband's corpse to prove her innocence, that she didn't have a hand in his death. But this particular one of a widow being thrown away from her husband's house when the husband passes on, we're not bringing enough attention to this kind of practice. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing this. I'm going to be giving you the legal angle, I'm going to be giving you the customary or traditional angle, and we're going to be discussing this in general. So let's go. It has always beat my comprehension how another man would sit pretty and be waiting for his brother to pass on so he can acquire his wife or acquire his wealth. Another man that has a wife. Another man that has 2 arms and 2 legs functioning. And what even beats me even more is that these men do not even take to account that they also have wives and they also have children, daughters and sisters. And I don't know if they imagine that this treatment is meted to the ladies in their life, how exactly they'll process it, and if they would appreciate such a thing. But trust human beings. When some people want to be mean and ruthless, they do not even think about the future. They do not even think about the consequences. So from this story, this is a woman who just lost her husband, right? She just lost her husband, and the day, less than 24 hours after the husband was committed to Mother Earth, the husband's relations, I'm safe to assume, swung in and threw her out of her husband's house. So the one message I would like to pass across from this video is still one that I hammer all the time on my channel, and that is the importance of marrying into a family that loves and accepts you. You see, that concept of me, myself and I, me, my husband and my children, it's a beautiful concept, but many times it doesn't work out, it doesn't pan out that way in Nigeria. The husband's family is a very, very important part of your marriage, and that is a fact. I admit that with education, with development, modernization, civilization, people are pretty much respecting their boundaries and their space. But many times at the end of the day, these things still come into bearing. It is difficult to find a family that at least likes you, even if they're not head over heels in love with you, even if they're not crazily in love with you, but at least a family that accepts you moderately, accepts that marriage, not a marriage that was, we die here, It's either I marry him or I don't marry. I want him. The family is shoving you away. The family is pushing you off. The family has refused it. The mother has told you, I don't want you for my son. The father denied his blessings. The uncles and aunties despise you. And you go ahead and say, me, myself, and my husband, I must marry this man. It is a very, very risky venture. So if you haven't made that mistake yet, if you're a young girl, listen to me. That guy that seems like you're all in one, you're all and every, few years down the line, you would even pinch yourself and be like, did I even date this guy? All you need to do is to give yourself time. The importance of marrying into a family that accepts you cannot be overemphasized, especially for the woman. If it's the man is not coming to the woman's family to do anything. Once he marries the woman, he pulls her out, he takes her to his home, she lives in his home, she bears his children, she bears his name. There is less interference from the woman's part. But you see, when it comes to the man, there is a lot of battles that can crop up. There is no way this woman in question was at least liked, not loved, liked and accepted by her husband's family, that they would throw her out of his house before the brother's body even turned cold. So if I said it once, I said it 1,000 times. Be very mindful, be very watchful, be very careful when it comes to the family that you're getting married to. Marriage is not just about you and your husband. Marriage in Nigeria, marriage in Africa, it's about two families coming together as one. And your husband might defend you and protect you when he's alive, but you do not know tomorrow. When he is gone, you and your children might be exposed to so much harsh realities that you never might have bargained for. Number two, the importance of writing a will. You see, writing a will is what I should describe as sacrosanct. It's something that, even if it's one bedroom apartment or a car to your name, whatever you have, the importance of writing down how you want your estate, how you want your properties to be distributed when you are deceased is very important. Talk more of when you are married to a family that is not together, a family that opposed your marriage, or a family that does not see eye to eye with your wife. I don't know why African men are very indisposed to writing a will. See, if you're a lady and you're listening to this, just go beside your husband. If your husband does not like watching YouTube, just go beside him and start playing this video, because it's very, very important for every man to listen to this. Writing a will or making a will does not mean you are wishing death upon yourself. Writing a will does not mean that you're terminally ill or your days are numbered. Writing a will is ensuring that your family agrees and stays together and stays in peace when you are no more. You do not want to be the reason why a family is in disarray, why your family name will be used in textbooks, in law students' textbooks, as families that have gone to court, family disputes. Ade versus Ade. We law students discuss these families in class. You don't want the legacy of your family to be contained in a customary law or civil law textbook. And that will occasion, when you leave this earth, without clearly and expressly writing, documenting how you want your properties to pass, or who you want to have your properties. Now, what does the law say? There's a law that governs wills. Okay, we call it the Wills Act. And that law says that a man's properties shall be distributed how he has specified it to be. If he dies, testate. Testate means if he dies with a will. But in my experience, 90 to 95% of men live without writing a will. And do you know what the law says about such a situation? When a man or when a person lives without writing a will, the customary law that governed him in his lifetime would determine how his properties and his estate will be distributed. So if the customary law says that only his sons, only men are eligible for inheritance, that is how it would be, regardless of whether the man was fond of his daughters, or whether the man believed in women's rights, or whether the man believed in women inheritance. That will not be taken into cognizance. What will play out is the customary law that governed him in his lifetime. Now, you would agree that in Igbo land, in Igbo culture, a lot of the laws are kind of harsh to women. many of the laws do not favor the women. In fact, in many places in Nigeria, female inheritance is expressly prohibited by customary law. So why would anybody want to expose their wives, their children, their daughters, their family to the fate of a custom, to the fate of a tradition that he himself might not even have believed in? Why would you want to take that risk? Why would you want to expose your family to disputes and scandals? We might try to make excuses for this man and say, oh, maybe he was just, he was illiterate, he couldn't read or write, he was in the village, he couldn't have made a will. But I tell you what, there's a standard way of making a will and there's a customary way of making a will. The standard will is the one written in pen and paper. That one is the most straightforward. It is easily admissible in courts. It is like law, okay? It can hardly be contested. There's also the traditional way of writing a will. Now, if a man in his lifetime, maybe in the village, illiterate, takes his wife, his brothers, summons a meeting with the local chiefs, the warrant chiefs, the traditional head, the Igwe, the oldest man in the village, people that occupy these positions, and orally lay down how he wants his properties to be distributed when he is no more. That can pass as an oral will, as long as there are enough witnesses and it was done in open. So there is no excuse to leave your family out in the open this way. I bet that this woman in question, if her husband had written a will, registered it with the probate registry of his state, and it is clear who he wants to inherit what he has, this woman, this widow, would have not been exposed to such a harsh reality. So women, even women of affluence, do not be the reason why your children, who should be in peace, starts to feud. You shouldn't be the reason. So if you're a man or a woman, as long as you have something of note that would interest your dependents when you are gone, please make it clear how you want it shared. Nobody's wishing you death. Nobody's wishing you premature death or whatever. Nobody's wishing you premature demise. But it's in your interest and the interest of your family to write a will if you have something of worth, regardless of how old you are. Now, this brings us to my third point. This is the reason why a lot of women die in the search and quest for a male child. You see, the world is progressing, moving forward, but some repugnant traditions keep pulling us backwards. If an investigation is run on this woman, you will see that maybe she doesn't have a male child to protect her. And this is the kind of treatment that most times are meted on women who just have daughters, that they believe that the daughters cannot rise up and fight and protect their father's properties. This is why a lot of women, even after 4 girls, 5 girls, they are still killing themselves to have a male child because of this kind of inhumane occurrences. Now, since we're talking about the tradition of the Igbos, let me tell you what the Igbo tradition says. While I say this, drop your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think it's our culture? It has been handed down to us from generation to generation and should be respected? Or do you think that it's a barbaric culture? Now, the Igbo culture says, and this culture also applies in a lot of places in Nigeria. Let me know what your culture is in your own place in the comment section, okay? Now, the Igbo culture says that when a man passes on and he has sons, regardless of the age of his sons, his properties automatically belong to his sons, not daughters. That is if he died without a will. If he died with a will, nobody can impose culture on a man that has written his will. That is called the last will and testament, his last wish. Nobody can contest that. That is his law, okay? But traditionally, if a man passes and he has male and female children and there is no will, so the customary law where he comes from governs the distribution of his estate rights, the tradition says that his properties must go to his male children alone, not his daughters. Let that sink in. That is the customary law of the Igbos. Now, in the event that he doesn't have male children, he has only female children, but his wife, his widow, is alive. And if his male children are still very small, they are tender, they cannot take over and begin to administer the estate of their deceased father, their mother, the widowed woman, holds these properties in trust, not as hers, but for her sons. She holds it, caters to the properties in trust for her sons. Now that's on one part. If this woman has only daughters, it begins to get tricky. What the customary law says is that the properties of this deceased man are bequeathed to his widow as long as she is still alive. So even the customary law still takes note of the widow. So I don't know where some of these barbarians spring out from and start to throw a widow out and take the properties of their brother. Many times these brothers are not even existent in the life of this man during their lifetime. It is only when this woman passes on, if she doesn't have a child, then the man's brothers are entitled to inherit his properties. But listen to this, very tricky. Now, if the widow passes on and she doesn't have a son, but she has just daughters, it gets very tricky. You might ask, who is entitled to inherit? Is it his daughters or the man's brothers? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Who do you think has a right to inherit a late man's properties when his wife is gone and he doesn't have male children? Is it the men of the family or is it his daughters, his married daughters? The answer will shock you, but let me know what you think in the comment section. It is so disheartening to see people spring up to want to reap where they didn't sow. Many times, these properties that these brothers lay claims to were even jointly acquired by the man and his wife. And that brings us to joint ownership of properties in marriage. What I'm spilling to you guys is pure gold. You won't hear it so often elsewhere, okay? In the course of your marriage, you see men that hide to acquire properties, use only their names in their properties. You are setting a very dangerous precedent. You are setting like a ditch for your wife to fall into, because you don't want your wife to be independent. You don't want your wife to feel strong. Maybe you want to bottle her or box her. You go around acquiring properties in your name. You leave those properties open for court decisions. But if your properties are acquired jointly, not as Mr. and Mrs. Okonkwo, because you might be there with Mr. Okonkwo, you wouldn't know that there's another Mrs. Okonkwo stashed away in one bungalow rented in Abulegba until the man passes on. Then the second Mrs. Okonkwo, third Mrs. Okonkwo would come in and you're seeing children that look just like yours. In today's edition of Men Will Stain Your Whites. So when you are acquiring properties, a marriage that has trust, a marriage that you do not have ulterior motives, these properties should be acquired jointly as Mr. Pascal Obudo and Mrs. Chineze Obudo. Two different individuals jointly owning a property, not Mr. and Mrs. Because that Mrs. Okonkwo might be contested as to who the Mrs. Okonkwo connotes. So this is a lesson for men and women. Men, be more open with your wives. Many of these men are secretive about what they own because they do not want their wives to have knowledge of these things, because they want to cage her, they want to abuse her, they want to box her. Be open with your wives. Acquire these properties jointly. Write a will stating clearly how you want your properties to be distributed when you're gone. If you want your daughter, if you love and value your daughter enough and you want her to be part of your inheritance, part of inheriting your properties, write it. Nobody would contest. Write a will. And for women, please, I have not come up with a mild way of asking our husbands whether he has written a will before some men will take offense and start suspecting you like, does this woman want to kill me? But if there's any way you can ask this question, especially knowing the kind of family you're married into, please ask that question. Nobody sets out in the morning and decides that today is the day I want to die, but it can happen. Sudden death happens. So while we pray that more NGOs, more associations, more female lawyer groups, more of these bodies that advocate and fight for the rights of women and the rights of widows takes up this case, while we hope that that happens, we have to consciously be forming the thoughts and the mindsets and the beliefs of the next generation. What exactly is tradition? Tradition is what is passed on from generation to generation. Some of these practices do not have any place being handed down to our children. It starts with us. It starts from the orientation. It starts from the mentality that you are imbibing in your sons, in your daughters, whether consciously or subconsciously. And if you're one of those parents that keep hammering in your home that, oh, don't worry, leave your sister, she will soon marry and go to her husband's house. Oh, your sister, you are the man, you are the boy, boys don't do this, boys don't wash, girls do this. If you are that parent that keep relegating the women to the back burner, relegating your daughters to the back burner, and making your sons feel superior to their sisters, you're one of the problem. We can do better as a people, as a society, and as a country. So don't forget that I need your thoughts in the comment section. Drop them in the comment section and let me know how you feel about this. If you're new on my channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, turn on your bell notifications, drop a comment, and stay glued for more interesting videos. It's me, your girl, Barrister Neze, and this is Nezaville. I'll see you in my next one. For now, bye.